Say hi. You can laugh if I say something funny, even if it's not a comedy routine. There are still jokes. I'm gonna start, I've been doing this thing where I actually start by reading poems written by other people because there's a lot of really good poetry, and sometimes the thought of people just like hearing only me makes me spiral. The risk is, of course, that you think Jean Valentine's poem that I'm about to read is better than any poem I read after, which is fine, because if it means you Google who Jean Valentine is after this, then honestly, that's the best outcome of the evening. I Came to You by Jean Valentine. I came to you, Lord, because of the fucking reticence of this world. No, not the world, not reticence. Oh, Lord, come. Lord, come. We were sad on the ground. Lord, come. We were sad on the ground. I write often in form. That's what some of those chapbooks are. I just like get obsessed with a single idea and then I just sort of like work it out. Currently I'm sort of working on ghazals. They're poems from like Persian, Arabian tradition. They have rhymes in them. They're couplets. There's like a setup and a punchline. And the couplets are like meant to be like a string of beats where like there isn't, you can sort of move the stuff around and it would still be a poem, except for the last stanza, which has the author's name often as like kind of a signature. They're all titled the same thing too. They're called All American Ghazal. I'm not really from here unless I marry someone from here. My father worked the fields. My mother teaches kids from here. My uncles worked Alaskan canneries, yet no form says I'm from here. The myth is, it's mine, where I'm from. Say here, and I'll look. I know I have no book unless I tell you I'm from there. Honey, olives, fish over rice. What did I leave out? From here, anyone could sing a great song. Here's where tragedy really comes from. It's not the random stranger who steals your goat. It's the people you trust here the most, the ones you're closest to. Dujie, so close to from here. You can clap it, or whatever. You can do whatever you like. I grew up in slam where people literally talked in the middle of your poem. And like at bars where like people didn't know poems were being read. You know, like, really. You can, I'm unfazed by your indifference. All American Ghazal. This is a very Seattle poem. 100 young cranes sway over this city. Blue scholars say, why is it in this city? My kids' farmers market and play, one born a mile away, am I of this city? Lapu Lapu beheaded the colonizer so a bloody bolo may protect you in this city. Council passed a resolution banning all forms of oppression. Swiftly, this city belabors the point. Sweeps, bellows, begins betrayal and avoidance. Officers of this city rotate our collapses, forget people every day, fish the river that feeds this city. There's no devil in the craft. He's in teaching the craft. There's a city inside this city. The squid jig's mad immigrant, it's true. 1,000 people move to this city every week and still no other Dujie nor Dejanat Al-Rayyan leases for keeps this city. That wasn't like a plea for applause. There's permission. You can also boo. I was the one who booed the Oklahoma City Thunder. All American Ghazal. On our first date, I admit I haven't left since arriving to this country. So of course, being dramatic, I became a poet's country. Years after divorce, I lost a legal fight in part because of my status, so indeed, a free country. Pho in the South End, oxtail in Queens, tinned fish, cannoli in Little Italy, no contact delivery, the food of my country. 50 or so provincial patches of grass, upon closer look, leaves. The edge where people live, phrase in this country. We can work on human rights while negotiating, the senator says on NPR, the prospects of nuclear war in our country. I was born in the Philippines, so my native tongue is partisanship. I'm many parties. I'm impartial in a country, a professional ministerial office holder, a biblical fortune. It's libidinal, the we in the ballad that makes a land. It's provincial, the line that cuts through sand. I is a line with a place to stand. I is a framing device. What good is a nation? Parts of speech like mine fragment, cut, clean. I'm rightless, but I have capital. Charge me, Dujie, précis, a person. I haven't decided what I'm going to read, which is a fun experience. I had like a plan and then I threw it out as soon as I got here. But I do feel compelled. I've read at the Hugos for a really long time now. I always feel compelled to read new stuff. So most of this is new-ish stuff. All-American Ghazal. Thursday lunch. There are holes in my eyes, but not the ones that make them my eyes. My optometrist sends me to a retinal surgeon, but I need someone who specializes in corneas. How little I know about committing to memory the curves of your face by looking. The poet says, chiaroscuro, having not in years held a charcoal stick from its tip an eyebrow. The perfect dip of an ear's helix into folds upon folds is as unique as a fingerprint. It sure sounds like science. I look away, something changes. May I be curious? I love that. I studied pictures of the falling man from 9/11 for so long, yet I am no closer to knowing. I've watched so much light in my lifetime already. The better question is if Eurydice called for Orpheus. When oppressive systems are so well hidden, Eros flees from sight, elbowing the mind, making sense of things. When you put it that way, I put it the way it is. I resent looking, isn't understanding long enough to call my lover within breath's reach. Where hips meet, the sight melts like ice in whiskey. Did we jump or fall? What I can see, Dujie. What I can see, Dujie, when you close your eyes. This next one, I had part of writing in form is like the challenge of it, you know? I was the type of kid who, like, if you said you can't do that, you're like, oh yeah. And I had a poetry teacher who said, it's really hard to write puzzles in short lines. I was like, oh yeah. Turned into like a 4-page poem. Because they're short lines. So these lines are super duper short. All-American Vessel. All stories tell the story of the beginning. I'm tired of telling my therapist I tend more than I admit to trust stories. I'm falling, flailing on the floor like my father. I'd like this to end. We'll live with ceasing, fading away. I get up from the middle of a story because I can. My side of the fence I keep clean on a 5th-story fire escape. A curious child who could be me in another story looks through a telescope at the beehives on a rooftop. Across the alley, inside the TV, beams Robert Ory, winning another Larry O trophy. Time is many things, why not story? My kids do what their mom's story tells them to, and it's real. That I'm mad as hell, but that story gets in the way of being here. It made me feel inadequate. It reminds me I was abandoned. Once upon us starts a fable. Childhood is the oldest grudge story. I obsess over the hero's narrative. I'm in love lately with love novels, the way every love story expands and repeats the first story we've always dated, others goes the story. The sex has been great from the jump. Story, like animal hunger, desire, is the only story. When talk turns to news, I lie. I'm good, I testify. I wake up the will to live stories on stories I see collapsed on a bleeding child. Children who look like children are dying, a grieving mother, thousands dead. It isn't complex, but there are levels. The price of war is a different story. Passive voice dusts the report depending on who thickens the plot. Settles a land, calls it history. On a street I have a house, an attic, 3 kids, roses, rhododendron blooming in all directions. The story of children's blood on the street, the story on the street of children's blood, on children's streets, blood stories. The big shot is part and parcel the story. My kid offers fanfic lore as placeholder for opinion, so on the way to school, a story. During dinner, more stories. Before bed, another story. What I'm doing without a story or a country leads me to believe making is kind of fiction, kind of desire, not a poem. The way the end begins a story, the way Dujie story. I'm gonna end with my last my last poem? I'm gonna end with my last poem. That's sort of how all sets go. I'm gonna end, lastly, with what is, in fact, my newest poem. It has sort of become my Seattle Civic Poet poem. But I also just really like reading it. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Ariel. Thanks, Jason. Thank you all for being here. Yeah. It's like a Tuesday night. It's like not nice today, but it's starting to turn nice. And so like the fact that you want to come and hear people talk about like the weird things that are on their mind is pretty cool. It's called On Devotion. White folks do land acknowledgements in historically Black neighborhoods. Nice. Not every room knows that's a joke. Good for you. White folks do land acknowledgements in historically Black neighborhoods. The International District always has been Asian, but perhaps because Hispanics, insofar as these are coherent categories, moved in next door, it changed. So now both live where once was a Hooverville tent city mayored by a weird woman with a broom. In my neighborhood, I'm new to the turn of the till on this patch of earth. The morning plenary of baubles and the bamboo, the blue jay's flight path, omen or portent. There are here smaller and fewer trees, so a different constellation of birds, small gods for which I do not yet know how to pray, what bone to pick or burn, flip. I've never had a yard in the city. If the line is a plow pulled one end to another, readying dirt for seed, my sentences are the patch. The syntax of my garden make no sense some season, as in what floats above them shape them more than I would like to admit. Of course, there is what we say, and then there is devotion, balance of faith and action, for which there is aversion that makes us believe in the certainty of solitude, so hideously mortal. But listen, reader, beloved, even here, there is no de-peopled substitute. Even in our glass sphere city, cannot self-serve at the corner store or deliver by drone. Devotion is the till, the tool, the towel that stinks even after the wash, the air that breathes you, knows all manner of lungs and furnaces and shivers in the leaves, the trees, equanimity weathers. Feels so much like bravery and its interest in truth, or what it is as opposed to what I want it to be. Pain is not disorientation. Disorientation attends pain when we are not ready to be with hurt, to believe we can withstand what comes next. We must expand what we know, can grieve, scroll, tip, tap. Urban planners historically planted, I learn on TikTok, male trees because less mess, and because private property is inherently theft, and because patriarchy and allergies. A history of displacement is basically invasion, but later I read trees are in fact very queer. Most tree species possessing both male and female flowers, either that or every flower has both pollen and ovaries. I watched a play today, and I don't know if I want to be the main character or do her today. A play watched me torn. It is a gift to be the object, to be in touch, to be with another, asking to be owed, owing, what devotion, to desire at all times. I am learning we are all prompted, being inducted into the grammar of animacy. When I say we, I mean the poppies too. The mimosa tree before and after it blooms. The 200-year-old cedar, the biggest in the city, cedering in our front yard. The coyotes frequent less. On the high hill, the hummingbirds, Sweetwater, the rabbits, the rabbits, the rabbits, all verbs. My grief is a relational dialect. When I divorce, my pain, the arrangement flattens, falls apart. Everywhere is home. My preferred language is listening, so I assume thanks and please, which can easily be mistaken for impoliteness. A kind of savagery projected onto me by a social positionality, stunned by the fear of knowledge, how it came to be. The only major American city named after an indigenous person whose defining characteristic was friendliness to settlers is now the seat of a county named after a civil rights leader who warned against the recruitment of his memory in the service of empire as a kind of devotion to. People have rabbit nature, I'm telling you. My lover told me this. It's bidirectional in every orientation, and the history of making it make sense is a kind of conquest. Hammers straight, the bright line of progress. It is so inevitable to lose people without attending to what we've done to lose them. Imagine what we've done with the earth. The place arounds and homes us. Nasturtiums sprout overnight when no one looks. Community is a word that works even when no one knows it. The only pronoun confusion that matters is that which determines who is alive to decide how we or they live.